Alright, so welcome to a new guide about the Shaper box, and this one is going to be the filter shaper. So on this one we will talk about the filter shaper and some use cases, now not how to create envelopes or how the toolbar works, because I already created a video to cover that part. So if you check the cards right there at the top, you will find the links for that, and you can also find the links down at the description. Okay, so the filter shaper is pretty simple. It's just like the volume shaper. Now I'm going to go there and we get the filter. Now you get different parts, which is going to be the filter type, very important. Then we get a cutoff right here, and then we have a resonance, and then we have a stereo. Now the resonance and cutoff, they have, we can use different waveforms, different LFOs for the cutoff and for the resonance, which is, great. So if I go down on the cutoff right here, you're going to be chopping high frequencies because we are on a low pass. So this is how, we are going to be doing this. Now, if I go to the resonance is going to add a peak at the breakpoint of the cutoff. Now, I'm trying to do all of this just as visual as possible. But, this works just like a normal, just a normal filter. So I'm going to go to the cutoff and add a little bit of sine wave and a little bit of resonance so we can see it moving up or down. Now you have different modes, and there's a little bit of difference I'm going to be showing you in a minute. So first, let's go to the first one. It's going to be a clean 6 dB per octave, is a much smoother cut. Then if we go to a clean, but we have the same, is going to be 12 dB per octave. It's a little bit more aggressive. Now, then we have the clean 24 dB per octave, which is way aggressive. And then we have the warm, and notice that on all the different types of filters, we have a clean and we have a warm. Now, if I go to the warm, it looks just like the clean, but this one adds a little bit of drive, a little bit of a harmonic distortion. So if I show you right here, notice that we get some harmonics right here on this section. If I go out of the warm and maybe go to a clean, we just don't get that, right? We just don't get it. We get it on the warm versions, and they will just add a little bit of, saturation. This is just completely up to you. Maybe you want to use it, maybe you don't want to. Okay, so let's just keep moving forward. We have the low pass, which we are going to be cutting the higher frequencies. We have the high pass, which is the complete opposite. We're going to be chopping the low frequencies, right? So very simple. Still, again, we have different modes, different intensities. We had the 12 dB per octave. We have the 24 of the clean, and then we have the warm. Now we can go to the band pass, and the band pass is going to just do that. It's going to create a notch right here, but it's going to chop the lows and highs. And it's going to give us that band pass. Now remember, when using band passes, right here, when we adjust the cutoff, it's going to be reactive to that, but it's also reactive to the resonance, right? We're going to create a big peak if we go up in resonance, or it's going to be a lot smaller if we don't add resonance. Pretty simple. All of these are just very common types of filters. Then we have the notch, which is the opposite of the band pass. If I go there, we're going to be creating a tiny little notch right there. And again, the resonance is going to alter how the notch, it gets created. We're going to get a bigger notch, right? So super easy. So I'm just trying to show you on a more visual way what you get when you play with these filters. Now then we have the peak, which is, again, the opposite to the notch, and we are just creating a peak. Notice when we go up right here, it goes a little bit up in the higher frequencies. Again, the resonance is going to create a peak right at that point, or we can just, go down resonance. And the different peaks, you just get two, a clean of 12 dB per octave, and the other one is going to be a little bit more pronunciated, and we get a tiny dip before we boost. Again, the resonance is just going to, it's going to overdo all of that. All right, so all of this, very simple. We can narrow, just go down in the mix and just make it a little bit less aggressive, just like that. So then we have the stereo. So you can go 60 up or 60 down. You cannot go all the way. So right now we have left and right channels, right? If you have a stereo signal. So when we are moving the cutoff and the resonance, we are doing it on the left and the right at the same time. That's why we get, this representation. Now, if I go towards the other side, left, what happens is that it's being more aggressive to one of the sides, and the other one is just kind of doing it a little bit less. It's like doing less mix on the one of the channels. If I go to the other side, now the pink one is going to stay up there, but the other one is going to be a lot more aggressive, right? Just a lot more aggressive. So just like doing this, just by doing this, you can offset your left and the right, and just expand maybe a little bit of the width of the sound. If you do it just like this, if you're doing too aggressively, you're gonna start noticing the difference between left and right. And also, what you can do with this, you can modulate the stereo, and get a nice little motion on the on the stereo field. So that's it. You create an envelope to modulate the cutoff, an envelope to the resonance, and you can work with the stereo. You don't get an envelope for this, but you can do it from within your DAW. Now, the filter shaper, it's very simple, but the thing is what you do with the filter shaper. And you can do a million things. So I'm going to be showing you a few examples. Okay, so I have a tiny little track right here. We get a drum loop, pretty simple. And then we have a pad. I'm using a GX80 from Cherry Audio, and it's just pretty dull, right? If I play it with the, with the drums, that's fine. Right, so you don't need to go pedal to the metal with the cutoff and resonance, right? And I watch what other people, how other people use this. And most people go crazy aggressive with the cutoff, and that is okay. But you can reuse it for a lot more things than that. Okay, so you have this pad. It's pretty linear, right? It's just super linear. Maybe what we just need is a little bit of movement. That's all, just a little bit. So I'm just going to go to the shaper box, and I'm going to be going there. I'm going to go to my filter, and I'm just going to maybe stand on here, and I'm going to be playing this back. I just want a little bit of motion. So I'm going to be doing just a sine wave. Now, this is way too aggressive, right? We know this. But I'm going to go to the smooth, and I'm going to smooth the transitioning. And now we have a little bit of motion. Just going to be less aggressive. Still, we don't need to go this high, this hard. We can bring down the mix and just a little bit of motion. That's all. You don't need more. If I turn it off, it's fine. A lot more interesting. If I go lower, less intense and a little bit of motion. Now, since you have control of your cutoff and your resonance, you don't need to use the same time for your cutoff when you modulate the resonance. Maybe I'm going to be doing something like this, but I'm going to be using just different, maybe just the different values. And it's going to, as the sound progresses, it's just going to change and then go back and loop. So I know that the loop is 8 bars. I'm just going to do 8 bars. So as I start, it's going to be just like that. And as it grows, go up in resonance. And again, you don't need to go that aggressive, maybe just a little bit. Maybe add a little bit of curve. And just like that, your lifeless pad is just a little bit better. Just use it to create a little bit of movement. Off and then on. And with the drums, now it just moves a little bit. If I turn it off, linear. Start over. Super linear, which is fine. If that's not what you want to do, it's fine. But with the shaper, with the filter shaper on, it's a lot more movement. So all of this tiny little, details and things will just help your track by a lot. And there's a difference between, creating patterns and doing sound design and adding a little bit of, a little bit of sauce right here, a little bit of movement. Because if there's no movement, there's no life. Right, so on the shaper box, we have the volume shaper and the compressor. And we know that we have the volume shaper and we have a compressor. We can use this with that purpose, but we can use the filter shaper almost with the same purpose. if I want to volume shape, or would we want to, compress, or, we want to create a sidechain, and especially a sidechain just to pump it, we do it with volume shaper. But we can use the filter shaper, and this will just, create a different type of movement. It will create a different type of sound, because you will be cutting frequencies from a high to low if you use a low pass, and with volume just going up and down in volume, you're just not cutting from the right to the left. But still, we can just take the same idea and take it to a filter and just create a little bit of, changing the dynamics and create a little bit of variation. So I'm going to bring the filter, but I'm also going to bring the sidechain. So I'm going to be selecting, again, a sidechain. I don't know, this one. Maybe I'm going to be using this one. Yeah, I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to be doing right click, and I'm going to be going to copy the wave. And I'm going to go to the filter shape, and I'm just going to be pasting the wave on the filter shape, and I'm going to disable the volume. Now, if I do play on the, the kick and the snare, it's going to sound a little bit weird. But that's the bass, that's the, the drums. If I do something like this, it's just not going to work. Now, I'm going to extend it for 2 bars. But we want to create a sidechaining motion, and at the same time a little bit of pattern. So I'm going to start to duplicate all of this. And we're going to start creating, getting something like this. Now on some parts we can see that this doesn't fit. So if this is the case, we can just grab this and we can just change it a little bit so we can fit the track. And we are still doing a little bit of pumping, but on a different way. Too aggressive, we can just tone it down a little bit, and I'm gonna be taking this ones up just like we did with the other ones. Now, since of course the filters, they are sweeping, we have a different motion. If I turn it off, it's static. Now we have a little bit of more just motion. I'm gonna go all the way wet. You can add resonance, but it's gonna sound a little bit weird on a bass in this case. But yeah, you can use it to mimic a little bit of what you do with this sidechain, just a little bit, and it's just gonna give you a different taste. Now I'm gonna go to the clean. This one, it's a little bit better. Alright, so you can use it to do this type of things, trying to mimic a sidechain or just to duck, but you're ducking on a different way. You're just chopping highs and then going low, just like you would do with an envelope and a filter, which is essentially what we are doing. Now we could just move all the different parts that don't fit. For example, right here, maybe we should be moving this right here and just extending this part, just maybe removing this part. Alright, we're gonna go there, maybe select it. Maybe that's just gonna be a little bit better for this bass, for this pattern. Something like that. Alright, maybe I can remove this smooth off and see what happens. Or maybe more smooth. It makes me more flubby. I like a little bit more consistency. Alright. Now, another thing that this gives you, since you have the warm, the warm filters, you can just use this to add a little bit of character on some parts. Okay, so now I'm using the same bass, and I'm using an instance of SHAPER box before, the one we just did, which is this one. So on this one, we are doing something simple. We are going down on the cutoff, but then we go up in resonance. So we are adding a little bit, more aggression. Now, but at some point we're going to be, and I did this behind the scenes because, it takes a little while, we are going to be adding a little bit of motion in some parts. I'm going to be playing it back without, which is pretty static, which is fine. But I want a little bit of, like the bass is speaking. Right here we can, do something like that. We can, go the other way, just like we did before. Right? So all of this, again, is just about movement and a little bit more character. Maybe I don't like this one. If I turn this off, it's just going to be a little bit more sterile. And then a little bit more character. Fine. So again, another example of just, using the filter. Okay, so right here I'm using GX80. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. It's a good synth. And I'm using a one single note clip. So again, we can use the filter just to add character and a little bit of personality. And right here, the rules are that, there are no rules. So you can do whatever you want just to add a little bit of more personality, and you can just change the whole sound to whatever it is that you want. And I'm just gonna draw something, stupid. And again, you just need to fool around, and you don't need to think too much in what you're doing. Then when you're done, then you just, adjust. Completely different, but now it's just not a single key sound. We could just go right here and just do the same thing, right? Gonna go up around something like around there. Right? Simple like that. And it's not a one single key anymore. And again, you don't need to have an idea of what you're doing. You just fool around. And if it doesn't sound good, it doesn't. You just move forward. Maybe it doesn't. If I turn it off, static. For sometimes you just need a static tone when you're doing something. But sometimes you need a little bit of movement. Not always. But it's nice. Maybe I just can blend it with a little bit of movement. Make a nice blend. Right? So you don't need to have a plan. You just need to go on a trip, go on an adventure, start drawing, weird stuff, and then just, see how it sounds. So if it works and it fits, great, man. Just leave it alone. Just move forward to the next thing. But then, the filter shape is just going to give you that. It's going to give you the tools to explore and to be a little bit weird and get cool sounds. Okay, so this is the most obvious one. It's going to be rhythmic patterns, creating patterns with the filter. Now, so far we've been using it as in a more creative way, or to add a little bit of sauce, to add a little bit of movement, to do all of that. But right now, if we use it as a rhythmic pattern, it's going to change the whole track. So I have right here drums, a noise, and I guess it's a bass. So I'm going to be playing it. Right, not so special. So what I want to do, I want to bring the noise. And this is just noise. It's just noise. So I'm going to bring the shaper. And again, you need to use it in a more rhythmical way. So you just cannot start drawing without, taking into account, the grid at the back. And in this case, I'm just going to go simple. I'm going to be adding one of the templates. And you're going to see that this is just, it's just going to get the job done. Now, still, if you want to, you need to go manually and match it to whatever it is that you're doing, right? I'm just doing it fast right now. So I'm going to be maybe changing to something more aggressive, maybe something with tone. All right. So that's it, Now, I'm going to be enabling this with the drums. Completely different, right? Now, what also you can do, you can modulate and I'm going to bring in LFO. You're going to see how it works in Bitwig. If you don't use Bitwig, that's fine. You can just bring whatever LFO that your DAW has, and you just can, maybe map this control to move it up and down. And now we're going to be creating a rhythmic pattern, but also a little bit of motion between the left and the right. So I'm going to go and do it like that. This is how it works on Bitwig, you know. Maybe we can change this. I'm going to go to this side and make it a little bit more aggressive. Something like that. All right. And in context, completely different, right? It's a different track. Sounds like something. Nothing. All right. It's just noise. All right. So I have a bass right here, and I already prepared this one right there. So we have a serum type of bass, and it sounds like that. So these are just straight, notes. Why not creating a pattern? I already did this for you so I can show you, and it's, it takes a little bit of work, and you need to, you need to spend some time. We are doing a little bit of cutoff, but we are going really aggressively up and down. I'm using a warm 12 dB per octave, and I'm not doing a blend, because what I want to do, I want to create a motion with a, very simple single note. Now, if I play it, right, and a little bit of resonance at some, parts, very specific parts. And this is just gonna, make the track, because this might work on a different track. On this one, it doesn't. With the noise, how much we created with just, using a single, using the pattern, the factory patterns, and a little bit of work. And with the drums, it's just a different thing. So this is the most popular, for what I've seen on, YouTube and, around. This is the most popular way of using the filter shaper. So another way of using the filter, the shaper box, is by creating fills. I'm going to be showing you just a drum loop. It's a very simple drum loop. And I'm going to be bringing the filter. I already did this behind the scenes. And I'm just going to the cutoff, going down and up. But notice that it's 4 bars. So it's the whole duration of the clip. So right at this point, we're going to be, going down and up in the filter. And we are doing a little bit of resonance as we reach to this section. Right? Again, it's completely up to you. This is just an example. I'm going to be playing it. It's just going to be a normal fill. Right? Just a normal fill. A normal drum loop. But then when we just get to that part, we just get a fill. And we don't need to start, doing crazy fills right here with the drums. We're just going to create something simple that works with the filter shaper. And I'm just using one tool. We could use all the other tools and, do something similar. Right? So I have a bass right here, and we could do the same trick. We can go to the bass, make it 4 bars, and when we get to the end, I'm just, not filtering anything, but when we get there, we are just doing a little bit of filtering. A little bit choppy, the bass. Right? So very simple. And you get a fill, just... Yeah, using the filter shaper is a very simple deal. Okay, so let me give you the final example. I'm going to go to nothing. I just have a chord right here. Let me just show you. I have just a chord. And then at the upper part, I have a higher octave and then a lower octave. And I'm doing this on purpose because what I want to do, I want to use the shaper box to modulate different frequencies. So if I play it, it's going to sound like that. Let me go down in volume. It's going to sound like that. I'm going to make it just longer. Right? So it's just going to be a pad, a long pad. Now, never forget that you have your multi-band. And you can do different things on your different bands. So I'm going to break it into lows, maybe around there. And then I'm going to be doing the highs. So now you're splitting your sound into 3 different sections and you can do different things with it. Maybe on this one, I'm gonna be doing a little bit of that. I don't know, just to do something. I'm gonna go down in the mix, just a little bit like that. Maybe I can just, select all, just like this, select all. Just make it a little bit smaller because I just want a little bit of movement. Right? And we are standing on the lows, just on the lows. Right, so what else can we do? Maybe we can go to the highs. Now this is the most, this is the high, is the one, right there is the meat of the, of the sound. Okay, so why not, I don't know, going here and doing something like that. I'm just gonna be going crazy. Still, it's a little bit too crazy. Go down in the mix. Maybe a little bit of resonance. Okay, it's fine. If I play it together, we get something more interesting. I'm gonna go to the highs. And right here we can just, I don't know, start drawing things. Or maybe we can use some of the creative sweeps. Why not? Just gonna use this one. And see how it sounds. I'm gonna go there. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna do nothing on this. I'm gonna go to the cutoff of the highs and then do the creative one. And maybe a little bit of resonance. Oh, by doing something like that. And I'm gonna go down in the mix as well. And all together. So now it sounds like we created a 3-layer synthesizer. So the multiband and the filter is my favorite thing. Now it's great for creating rhythmic patterns and for all of that, but the multiband is just fantastic. You throw a pad, and if it's missing something, or if it's super sterile, just like this, and you need to create a little bit of something more interesting, then you go and do it. And if you're being too aggressive and you want to get closer to your original sound, you just go down in the master mix. And you get less. Still, it's a lot more interesting than the other one. Right? So, okay. Now, the other thing that you must not forget is that you have an envelope follower. And this just can, help you to tame whatever it is that you want to do. I'm going to go right here to an ARP, and I already have it right here. I guess I'm going to be, turning the SHAPER box. And it's just going to be an ARP. It's just a very simple ARP. Right? Just a simple ARP. And if I play it with the other one, I'm going to stop it and play it again. Now, the ARP doesn't sound like this. It sounds like this. Right? It sounds really aggressive. So by just, chopping a little bit of the higher frequencies like you would do with the synthesizer, and you have the envelope follower, you're just going to be, able to just change the sound a little bit. And I like this vibe. If I go down, it's going to be, almost nothing. And we can modulate this like we would do with a synthesizer, but it just gives a different sound. And this is important because sometimes when you get the sounds like the ones I have right now, this is just an audio source. It's not a synthesizer, so I cannot tune the filter and the envelope on the synthesizer. I just cannot. But I can do it from here. And the envelope is just gonna really help you to do that. And you can even add a little bit of motion or automation to make it evolve on the track. Right? Never forget that you have the multiband and the envelope follower. Alright, so these are just a few examples. The rest is up to you. Now, the tool is pretty simple. different filters, a cutoff, a resonance, and you just get an envelope. Everything else that you can achieve with this is just you, your creativity, and your imagination. But you need to go to work because you need to draw the envelopes or just go weird and see what happens. Just go crazy, draw something that makes no sense and see how it sounds. Sometimes, that works. And we call it, happy mistakes. But, that's fine. If it works, it works. It doesn't matter how, you got there. These are just a few examples. Maybe you use the filters. You have a few techniques that you would love to share on the comments. Please go to the comments and share your techniques. I would love to hear them. Okay, so that's it. Now, if you liked all of this and maybe you got a few ideas out of this, remember to like and subscribe. And if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee, you can. Just go to the links at the description and you will find a link for PayPal. You have a YouTube thanks and you have Patreon. Maybe you can be a 1-month patron and buy me a coffee that way.